right, hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about how to identify trees by looking at their leaves. Today we'll be doing it entirely digitally. You'll have a website that will help you and you'll do an online Canvas quiz. Then we'll take you outside and we'll walk around campus and see if you can identify the trees that are on campus. Finally, you'll be asked to identify leaves as a summative. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's learn a few important terms for identifying leaves. The first thing that you're going to want to do when you see a picture of a leaf is identify whether it's just one leaf. So here's a single leaf coming from a stem. The fancy word is petiole, but you can just say stem. And if that is just one leaf, then we call it a simple leaf. But if you see a whole bunch of tiny leaflets coming from the stem, then that's called a compound leaf. So again, one of the first things you have to identify is it simple, just one leaf, or compound, a whole bunch of little leaves coming from one stem. Okay, the next thing that we need to take a look at is where the leaflets are coming from. Look at these two images. The picture on the left, the leaflets are all coming from one point. Do you see there's a center point? Sometimes we say that it looks like the palm of your hand, like these are the fingers of your hand. So this is called palmate, like the palm of your hand, palmate compound. The reason it's compound is that it's several leaflets coming from one stem. This one, though, is different. If you notice, the leaflets are coming from several points along the stem. So it's still compound, but we don't call it palmate compound. It's got a different name. It's called pinnate compound. So you're going to want to watch for the word palmate and pinnate. Palmate tends to look like the palm of your hand. Okay, next, let's go ahead and talk about a similar term, but this time it's about the veins. So instead of a whole bunch of leaflets, we're talking about the veins inside one leaf. So take a look at the leaf on the left. If you look where the veins are coming from, they're coming from numerous locations off of the stem. So we're going to call that pinnate veins. It's not like, it doesn't look like your hand. But if you look at the maple leaf on the other side, most of the veins are coming from this central point right here. At least the major veins are coming from that central point. There's no central point on the oak leaf. There's this central point here. That's called a palmate leaf or palmate veins. They're all coming from a central location. Okay, next. So now we want to look at how the leaves, if you have a compound leaf, how they're attached to the stem. Now, this could be the leaflets, this could be the leaves, or this could be the branches on the tree itself, how they're attached. So when they're staggered like stairs, look at the arrows. There's one on the left, then there's one on the right, then there's one on the left, then there's one on the right. We call that alternating. So that is alternate. They're one above, then one below, then one above, then one. They're going left to right and left to right. On the opposite side over here, look at the leaves. They're directly across from each other. The leaves or branches are directly across from each other. We call that opposite. So pay attention to the difference. Here's one on the left, then the right, then the left, then the right. They're not right across from each other. Over here, they're right across from each other. So alternate versus opposite. All right, margins refers to the edge of the the edge of the leaf, and you don't need to know any of these complicated words. We just want you to start looking at the edge of the leaf. So here's an example of a smooth leaf. Below that is serrated. It looks kind of like the teeth of a saw blade. And then this one is actually called toothed. So serrated and toothed, you don't need to know the difference. But when you see those jaggedy edges, you can usually think of them as teeth. So the answer keys will say something about it being a smooth edge or a toothed or teethed edge. All right, and then the last thing that has to do with the shape of the leaf, this is called lobes. So take a look at this leaf here. The lobes are when a leaf has big indentations, when it goes in and out. So this leaf has a lobe right here. It has a lobe, this big lobe that's pointing up, and then it has a lobe that's pointing to the right. So if you look at leaf A, there are no such indentations, so we say it has no lobes. Leaf B definitely has lobes. There's one, There's one, and there's one. And we say that those lobes on leaf B are balanced, which means they're the same across from each other. So the left has a lobe and so does the right. The left has a lobe and so does the right. They're not perfectly balanced, but pretty well balanced. So that's balanced lobes. But now look at C. That is a seriously weird leaf. So it's got lobes on the left side and no lobes on the right side. So we say that is unbalanced lobes. So again, a lobe is the indentation, the leaf going in and out. Okay, and the very last thing we're going to say about this specifically are called fruits. And this can be surprising. So you can use fruits to identify a tree. And usually when we think of fruits, we think of what we get at the grocery store. So you're thinking strawberries, or you're thinking peaches, or you're thinking fruits to a plant biologist, which is a botanist, aren't necessarily the same kind of fruits that we would think of for eating. So, fruits are officially defined as the ripened ovary or ovaries of a seed bearing plant. This is many, many, many different forms. Pretty much every plant that has flowers has a fruit. It's just that we wouldn't necessarily eat those fruits. Maybe animals or insects would eat those fruits. So, for example, oak tree acorns. You maybe don't eat oak tree acorns, but that's going to count as a fruit because it's the ripened ovary for that plant. Maple tree helicopters, those things that spin from the maple trees, those are ripened fruits. Even this right here from the redbud, nobody would want to eat that, but that's a fruit in our definition. Okay, now I want to take you to the Canvas practice page where you're going to try doing some identifying of your own. So I put in the practice quiz a practice image where you can try to figure out, okay, what is this tree? So you've got a leaf, and what I see, it gave us this information. It's palmate. It's all of these little leaflets are coming from one point in the middle, and it's compound. That's a hint. We didn't necessarily need to give you that hint, but we gave you that hint. Now, on the right side, you need to tell me, what is this practice tree? What type of a tree is it? So, to do that, you're going to go to a website that's called What Tree Is It? And you can go to tree.opland.org, or you can just type into Google. Give me a second. You could just type into Google, what tree is it? And we can find it the same way. Give my computer just a second to catch up. What tree is it is usually the second hit. It's this one right here. What tree is it? So there's several different ways that you can get to it. Okay, so when you get to what tree is it, you have three choices. You can identify a tree by its leaf, by its fruit, which remember might not look like a fruit like you think of it, or by its name. Well, the whole point is you don't know the name of the tree, so we're never going to use the one with the little bird on it, but we are going to use these two. So what do we have in this picture for the practice image? Well, it's a leaf. So on my What Tree Is It page, I'm going to click Identify by Leaf. So then it's going to give me some choices, and I have to pick the leaf that looks the most like my image. So be sure you scroll down. There's usually anywhere from 2 to 5 images that you have to look at. So let me just get you started. This one says it's needle-like leaves. Well, that looks like a pine tree. Nope, that's not what our practice image is like. So I'm going to go to this one, scale-like leaves. No, that's not what this one looks like. I'm going to move on. Broad flat leaves. Well, it doesn't actually look like either of these, but it's definitely broad and flat. So maybe this is where we're going. And then this last one says flattened leaves, but it looks kind of like it has needles again. So I'm going to say the one that it most looks like is this category right here, the broad flat leaves. So I clicked on it, and it takes me to two choices. And I'm always going to scroll up and down just in case there's more choices. So now it says compound or simple. Now remember that simple means it's one leaf, and compound means it's more than one leaf from the stem. Well, if we go over here, it's a whole bunch of leaves. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaflets from one point. So that's a compound leaf. So I'm going to click on compound leaf. and we're going to see what choices I have. So I'm going to scroll down just in case. These are the only two choices. So it says on palmately compound leaves. It tells us over on the quiz, it says it is palmately compound. We could look at this one too. It says it's pinnately compound. Which image does it look more like? I'd say it looks more like this one. So let's click on it. We're looking, everybody, for the exact same photo. These photos were pulled from this website. So if you don't have the exact same photo, then you're not done. So let's keep looking. So does it look like this one? It says usually 7 leaflets and no stalks. So we definitely counted 7. So that's a possibility. What does this one say? 5 leaflets, each with a short stalk. Well, this had 7 leaflets, so it's not this. So I'm going to guess this one. I'm going to click on it and see what happens. If the picture matches, what do you know? It exactly matches. Then we are done. We found that the name of this leaf is horse chestnut. And this is important, a super important tip. You're going to click on the name, double click on it, and copy it. And so I usually do a Command C, whatever you need to do to copy the name. So I copied the name horse chestnut, and then I'm going to go over here, and where you type in the answer, I'm going to paste horse chestnut. Now, the reason I want you to paste horse chestnut is so that you don't have any typos. If you have a single spelling error, it's gonna mark it wrong on your Canvas quiz. You also have to make sure that the capital letters are there. So that's why on the what tree is it, you should always just copy and paste the name of the tree. Now, what would we do if we had picked the wrong, we thought we had, here, let's back up. Oh, I did it wrong. Hold on. Let me go back to where I was. What if, let's see if I can go back. I don't think I can go back. Can I go back one? I was hoping to go back to the leaf that we just chose, but maybe I can't go back. There we go. There we go. So let's say I picked the wrong one somewhere along the line. So let's say I thought it looked like this, and then I thought it looked like this, and the leaf is wrong. It doesn't match. What should I do? Well, I have some choices. I can go backwards and try those choices again and say, okay, wait a minute. I must have made a mistake. It actually looks more like this, and then start over again. Or I can just go back to the beginning. This is the home page right here. So if you click on that, you can just start all over again. So identify by leaf and go back to the beginning again. Okay, I think that's pretty much all you need to do. You enter that there. So now that's the practice one. So go ahead and do practice and enter in horse chestnut. And now you can go ahead and start doing it on your own. Notice that every time, or not every time, many times underneath the photo, we have little hints that are necessary to help you identify the tree. The wings are 1 3/4 inches long, or the lobes are balanced and pinnate. Make sure you read those little hints because those are going to be key to you identifying your tree. And then there was one other thing I was going to, oh yeah, and then the last thing I want to remind you, this is not a leaf. What is this? Well, if we go back, if we go back here, I'm going to go home. It's not a leaf, it's a fruit. So for this image number 1, you're going to need to identify it by fruit. So make sure you always scroll down so you can see all the choices. I'll give you a hint. It looks like this one. So you're going to click on it, and you're not done until you find this exact photo. You're not done until you find the exact same photo. So you should know what your score on the assignment will be. It's going to grade you based on whether you have your correct answers. And you'll know immediately if you have the right picture or not, whether you got the question correct. Please email your teachers or go to the Google Meet if you have any questions. That's it, everybody.